Jara stood on the edge of the training cliff, her violet armor glowing under the twin suns of Threxos. Her sharp black eyes scanned the valley below, where younger warriors practiced drills with heavy staffs and plasma blades. She tightened, the leather wraps on her wrists, her breath steady and proud. She was the strongest warrior in her age group, the champion of the last 3 moon cycles, and the daughter of a general. No one dared to challenge her now, none on Threxos at least. But rumors had started, whispers from the stars. New species joining the combat trials, strange ones, soft ones, and among them dash humans. Jawa had never seen a human, only heard stories from old traders. Some said they were clever, others said they were dangerous in strange ways. But none of those stories impressed her. Her people believed in strength, in facing your enemy directly, not in tricks or tools. And so when she heard humans were allowed to enter the trials this cycle, she laughed. They will cry before they bleed, she told her sparring partner during practice. The Arena Council soon confirmed that humans had officially entered. It was the first time Threxos would meet them face to face. And Jara, full of pride, full of fire, marched to the communication chamber and recorded a message. "I am Jara of Threxos," she said in front of the galactic lens, her voice strong and cold. "I challenge any human who believes they understand combat. Come to Threxos, step into our arena. Show me your strength, if you have any. But prepare to kneel before the trial is done." The message was broadcast across the galaxy. Jara watched it again later and smiled. Her words were perfect, her stance unshaken. Her people cheered her bravery. She waited days, thinking the humans would stay silent or refuse. But they didn't. A short reply came in the form of a simple video. It showed no warriors, no shouting, no fire. Just a human male with light brown skin, short hair, and calm eyes. He stood in front of a small ship and spoke softly. "Challenge accepted. We will arrive soon. No names, no threats, no bravado." It annoyed Jara. "Do they think this is a game?" she muttered to herself. Preparations began quickly. Threxos was excited. Alien combat trials were not just entertainment, they were tradition, a way to show skill and respect. The main arena was cleaned and rebuilt with stronger walls. Banners of the trial hung from every tower. Even the elders came out of seclusion to watch. Crowds filled the high seats, eager to see a human fall. On the day of arrival, Jara stood. With her father near the landing platform, many Threxans wore traditional battle robes, showing their honor. Jara wore her best armor, polished and sharp, with the family mark on her chest plate. She expected loud engines, a mighty ship, something worthy of fear. Instead, a small gray shuttle touched down with barely a hum. The door opened slowly. 2 humans stepped out, a man and a woman. No helmets, no armor, just loose training clothes and small packs on their backs. Jara blinked in surprise. The man was the same one from the video. Beside him, the woman had a long black braid and calm eyes. Both looked relaxed. Even friendly ZHA Era stepped forward and pointed at them. "Which one of you accepted the challenge?" The man raised his hand. "I did. My name is Daniel. This is Maria. We both represent Earth in the trials." "You don't even wear armor," Jara said. "Are you trying to insult our ways?" Daniel smiled kindly. "No insult. We respect your traditions. We simply don't fight the same way." Jara scoffed. "You will regret that." The trial was set for the next day. The arena was packed, every seat full. Giant screens floated above the pit, showing close views of the fighters. Jara stood on one side, holding her staff. She looked fierce, powerful. Her armor gleamed like steel fire. The crowd chanted her name. On the other side, Daniel stepped forward, hands empty. He wore simple shoes, light gloves, and a steady face. Maria stood behind him, stretching her arms and legs calmly. There was no fear in their eyes. A loud gong echoed across the arena. The match had begun. Jara wasted no time. She rushed at Daniel, swinging her staff in a high arc. It was a blow strong enough to break bone.
But Daniel.
But Daniel sidestepped easily. He didn't block or hit back, he simply moved just out of reach. The crowd gasped. ZHAR spun, trying again, but Daniel ducked and tapped her arm with 2 fingers. The lightest touch. It made her arm tingle strangely. She pulled back, confused. "Fight me properly." "Gosh," she growled. "I am," Daniel said softly. Then Maria joined in. Jara faced both at once, swinging and jabbing. But they moved like water, flowing around her attacks, using her momentum against her. Every time she struck, they avoided. Every time she charged, they redirected. By the 3rd round, Jara was sweating. Not from pain, but from effort. The humans never landed a heavy blow. Yet she felt like she was losing. The crowd, once loud, had grown quiet. Whispers moved among them. "What are they doing? They aren't even trying to hurt her. How can this be?" Shara stood, breathing hard, staring at the humans across from her. They didn't look tired. They didn't gloat. "Why don't you fight back?" she asked. Daniel looked at her with kind eyes. "'Cause we didn't come to win. We came to show you who we are." The trial was over, but no one left the arena. The sky above Threxos had turned a soft purple, and twin moons rose slowly in the distance. The crowd, once shouting Jara's name, now sat in silence. The humans had not won with strength or weapons. They had not even landed hard blows. Yet still, Jara had not touched them. No clear winner had been declared, but everyone could feel something unusual had happened. Zhao Ara stood in the center of the arena, her chest rising and falling. Her arms ached, not from pain, but from using too much energy for too little effect. Her eyes never left the humans. Daniel and Maria stood calmly on the other side, breathing evenly, showing no signs of strain. "This isn't how trials are done," Jara finally said. Her voice echoed in the quiet space. "You didn't fight." "We did," Daniel replied gently. "We just fight differently." Jara narrowed her eyes. "You didn't try to defeat me?" Maria stepped forward and bowed her head slightly. "We didn't come to defeat. We came to learn, if needed, to defend." Jara's pride burned in her chest. She had fought warriors twice her size. She had faced machines, beasts, and champions from other clans. She had trained since childhood. And now, these 2 quiet humans had left her tired, confused, and with no victory. The arena council stood up. The elder in the center, a tall Threxan with a silver faceplate, raised a hand. "The trial has ended. No blood was spilled, but honor was shown. Let this be recorded as a complete match. And let all species remember, there is more than one way to fight." Many Threxans looked confused. Some nodded. Others shook their heads. But no one cheered. Shal Era walked off the platform. Slowly, her head down, her staff resting on her shoulder. She didn't feel ashamed, but she didn't feel proud either. It was something else, something new. That night, she sat alone near the cliff. The wind was cool, and the stars above twinkled like quiet watchers. She thought about Daniel and Maria, about how they had moved, how they had stayed calm, how they had never aimed to hurt her, even when they could. She heard soft footsteps behind her. "Mind if we sit here too?" Daniel asked. She nodded without looking back. The 2 humans sat beside her. "You confuse me," she said after a while. "Most. People say that." Daniel chuckled. Sihara looked at him. "You didn't use weapons. You didn't use power." "But I couldn't land a single clean hit." Maria leaned back on her hands. "We've trained for different kinds of danger. On Earth, battles don't always look like yours. Sometimes survival means using your mind more than your muscles." Jara's brows lowered. "How do you train like that?" Daniel picked up a small stone and rolled it in his palm. "We train for balance, for awareness. We learn how to move with the world, not just against it. When someone attacks, we study their patterns. We find their strength, and we step around it." "But why not fight back?" Jara asked. "Could have taken me down when I slipped, maybe," Maria answered. But that's not the lesson we wanted to leave behind. Yara stayed quiet. Part of her still wanted to beat them, to show her worth. But another part, the curious part, wanted to understand. Can I see how you train? She asked. Daniel smiled. We'd be honored. The next morning, Yara arrived at the visitor barracks. She wore light clothes, no armor, and no weapons. Daniel and Maria greeted her with soft bows. Together, they walked to an open field at the edge of the mountains. There was no battle music, no loud cheers, no targets to smash. Just space, wind, and quiet focus. Daniel showed her a stance. This is for grounding your body. Feel the earth beneath your feet. Yara copied it, her legs wide, knees bent. Maria guided her arms into position. Breathe with your movements. Let the energy flow. They moved slowly, like waves. Each motion felt strange to Yara, too soft, too careful, but after a while, she began to understand. It wasn't about force. It was about control. They practiced rolls, redirections, and falls. Daniel showed her how to avoid an attack using just a sidestep. Maria taught her how to lock an opponent's arm without hurting them. By midday, Yara was sweating and smiling. This is hard, she said, laughing. Harder than you expected, Daniel teased. Much, she nodded. It feels. Right, like dancing, but with purpose. They shared food and stories after training. Yara told them about Threxus's mountain beasts and how she once tamed one as a child. Daniel told her about climbing frozen cliffs on Earth with no safety. Ropes. Maria spoke of deep-sea survival drills and how she once swam with dangerous creatures just to learn how they moved. Yara listened closely. Their lives were different, but they had something in common: endurance. You face danger your whole life, she said. Daniel nodded. Humans had to. Our world was not kind, but we learned to adapt. And you don't hate enemies? No, Maria said softly. We don't fight out of hate. We fight to protect, to survive, and sometimes to teach. Yara looked out at the sunset, her mind full of thoughts. You didn't come here to make us look weak? Never, Daniel replied. You came because we were invited. You were strong, Yara. Very strong. But strength has many forms. She thought of her own people, how they trained every day with noise, fire, and fury, how they measured power by how loud or fast someone struck. Maybe it was time to show them something new. Will. You teach others? She asked. Daniel smiled. Only if you stand beside us. Yara stood and stretched her arms.
Oh.
Then let's begin. The sun rose slowly over the training field, painting the sky with orange and gold. For the first time in many years, Yara felt something new: peace. She stood beside Daniel and Maria, her arms stretched, her body relaxed, not in armor, but in loose robes that allowed freedom of movement. Her people watched from a distance, confused and curious. Threxans were used to loud drills and sharp weapons. Now, they saw slow movements, quiet breathing, calm balance. They think we're just dancing, Yara whispered to Maria. That's what many say at first, Maria replied with a soft smile. But give it time. I'll see what you all saw. Yara moved through the stances again, slower this time. She focused on her breathing, feeling the ground under her feet. She remembered her first training with her clan, shouting, sweating. This was different. It didn't hurt. It didn't break her bones. But it still tested her. More Threxans came to watch. Some whispered, others laughed. One young warrior crossed his arms and shouted, "How will that help you in real battle?" Yara didn't stop. She finished her movement, stood straight, and looked at the young warrior. "Step forward," she said. "See for yourself." He hesitated, but the crowd pushed him forward. His name was Torvin. Strong and fast, a skilled fighter known for winning matches by force alone. He stepped into the field with pride. "I will not go easy on you, Yara," he said. "Good." She nodded. "I wouldn't respect you if you did." They stood in the center. Torvin charged first, swinging fast. Yara didn't block. She shifted, let his movement pass, then gently pushed his shoulder with 2 fingers. His balance broke, and he fell to one knee. The crowd gasped. Turvian growled and came again, faster this time. Jara turned her hips, dodged, and wrapped his arm, flipping him gently but firmly to the ground. This time, the crowd didn't laugh. It leaned forward, eyes wide. Jara stepped back and offered Torvin a hand. Again, Torvin took her hand and stood up, not angry, but thoughtful. Daniel nodded from the side. "You're ready." Word spread quickly. Warriors began lining up for training. Not to replace their old ways, but to learn something new. They came with questions, doubts, and open minds. Some took longer to understand, others gave up. Many stayed. Maria taught a group of younger students. She used simple games like balancing stones on their heads while walking or trying to step silently over dry leaves. At first, the children laughed, and they started taking it seriously. Daniel worked with the elders. He spoke about human history, how their planet was full of sudden changes, storms, quakes, war, and peace. He told them that humans didn't evolve to win by size or speed, but by adaptation and unity. "We are not the strongest in body," Daniel said, "but we learn from everything. That is how we survive." The elders listened. It lived long enough to know that strength wasn't always loud. Zhao, Era took her new training back to her own squad. They respected her, but some still questioned this change. "We are warriors," one of them said. "Why should we fight like humans?" "We are warriors," Jara replied, "which means we must always grow. If we stop learning, we grow weak." Soon, they trained in both ways. Heavy drills in the morning, human forms in the afternoon. It wasn't easy. Some muscles fought back, some minds resisted. But each day, it made them sharper, calmer, smarter. One afternoon, a surprise message arrived. A council member from another planet requested to observe the training. They had heard about the new human method being used on Threxos. They wanted to see it in action. "They don't believe it works," Jara said. "Then let them come." Maria replied, "We'll show them." A few days later, a small ship landed. Out stepped a tall alien with deep green skin and 4 eyes. Her name was Narela, from the planet Vorgas. She was a respected warrior and judge of combat traditions. Zada welcomed her with respect. "You came far. What do you hope to see?" "Truth," Narela answered. "Your methods sound ... unusual." Jara nodded. "Then come watch our training tomorrow." The next morning, the field was full. Daniel, Maria, and Jara led a group of Threxans through movements. Some focused on balance, others practiced controlled grapples. Daniel demonstrated how to redirect force. Maria showed how to use rhythm and timing, and Narela watched without speaking, her expression unreadable. After the session, Jara stepped forward. "What do you think?" Narela was quiet for a moment. Then she said, "You haven't replaced your ways. You've added to them." "Yes," Jara said. "We still use our old forms, but now we understand more." Narela turned to Daniel. "And you taught them without taking over?" Daniel nodded. "We shared. Nothing more." Narela looked at the gathered warriors. She saw the sweat, the focus, the improvement. "Perhaps," she said slowly, "the galaxy has been too proud. Too certain that only old ways are strong. This could be the future." Jara smiled. "The future should belong to those willing to listen." That evening, under the stars, Daniel and Maria sat by the fire with Jara and her closest. Fighters, they ate together, laughed, and told stories of their homes. Daniel played a small instrument. Maria taught a Threxan child how to whistle. Sahara looked around and felt something. Deep in her chest, something stronger than pride or victory. It was unity. The humans had not come to defeat them, had come to offer something rare. And because of that, Threxos would never be the same. Jara woke early the next morning before the suns had risen. The air was cool, and a light mist floated over the training fields. She stood alone, barefoot on the grass, going through the quiet movements Daniel had taught her. Each step felt natural now. Each breath matched her motion. She didn't need to think, her body just moved. She remembered the first time she had challenged the humans. She had been so sure of herself. She knew that strength without control was incomplete. She had learned more in the past week than in many years of battle. As the mist cleared, others joined her. Warriors of all ranks stepped onto the field. They followed her lead without question. Some were older, some younger, but all moved in unison. It wasn't loud or fast. It was focused. Daniel and Maria stood nearby, watching quietly. "She's doing it," Maria whispered. Daniel nodded. "She's becoming more than a fighter. She's becoming a teacher." Soon, more visitors came to observe. Ships from other planets arrived, each bringing warriors, scholars, and council members. They had heard strange things humans training. Threxans? Peace in a combat world? Many doubted it. But they came to see Zach. Ara welcomed them all. She showed them the training sessions, the new mixed styles, and how her warriors now used both traditional and human techniques. She let them speak, question, and even try the methods themselves. Some aliens mocked it. Others watched with sharp eyes. But none could ignore the results. One visitor, a strong reptilian from Dranok, asked her, "You were once a proud warrior. Why change?" Jara answered simply, "Because pride alone doesn't protect you. Understanding does." The alien said nothing more. As days passed, something unexpected happened. Alien warriors who came to watch asked if they could train. Daniel and Maria welcomed them all. Soon, the field became a gathering of many species moving, learning, failing, and improving together. It wasn't perfect. There were arguments, misunderstandings, and even small fights. But each time, Jara stepped in not with anger, but with calm words. "We are not here to compete," she would say. "We are here to grow." Daniel watched her from the side and smiled. "She's doing better than we ever did." "She's leading them in her own way," Maria agreed, and they're following. One afternoon, a message arrived from the Galactic Combat Council. They requested a demonstration. Not a fight, but a presentation of the new method, to be broadcast to many systems, watched by leaders and warriors across the galaxy. Shaw stood in front of her team. "This is our chance," she said. "Not to prove we are stronger, but to show that we are wiser." They trained day and night. They prepared a routine that showed balance, speed, control, and peace. They mixed old and new Threxan battle stances with human flow techniques. It was beautiful to watch. On the day of the demonstration, the main arena was full again. Banners flew, cameras floated, and people waited with curiosity. Many expected a battle. What they saw was something else. Shaw Era stepped into the arena, with Daniel and Maria beside her. Behind them stood a line of warriors from many planets. They moved in silence, forming patterns, switching partners, flowing together like water. They showed grapples, escapes, redirections, and defensive stances. No one was hurt, no one shouted. It was like a dance but with purpose. With control at the end, Jara stood in the center. The arena was silent. "We do not fight to destroy." She said, "We fight to protect, to learn, and sometimes to teach." For a long moment no one spoke. Then the crowd began to clap, first softly, then louder. Some stood, some cheered. Even the council members nodded after the event. Leaders from several planets approached Jara. "We want you to visit our worlds," one said. "Teach our soldiers," said another Zed. Era looked at Daniel and Maria. "We can't do it alone," Daniel stepped forward. "We don't need to. We'll go together." And so, a new mission began. Jara, Daniel, and Maria started traveling from planet to planet. They were welcomed with respect and curiosity. They trained soldiers, guards, even young. Students, they didn't bring weapons. They brought knowledge. Each place was different. Some were cold, some full of forests. Some cities floated in the sky. But one thing was the same: they all wanted to learn. Shayara found joy in sharing. She learned as much as she taught. Every world added something new to her own style. She kept a small notebook, drawing new stances, writing ideas, and remembering names. On a quiet night, as the team sat under foreign stars, Maria asked, "Do you miss Threxos?" Jara smiled. "Every day. But this is something bigger now." Looked at her. "You've become more than a warrior, Jara. You've become a voice." She nodded. "I just hope the galaxy's listening." A cold wind moved across the wide training field on planet Barracks 5. The ground was hard and cracked. The air smelled like iron. This was a warrior world, one that believed only in strength. Here fighting was not just for honor, it was for power. Jara stood in front of a group of Baraxian fighters, their skin thick and armored, their eyes filled with doubt. "You came here to teach?" one of them said, stepping forward. He was taller than Jara and wore sharp metal bands on his arms. "You speak of soft movements and empty hands. What can that do against real force?" Jara didn't argue. Instead, she looked at Daniel and gave him a small nod. Daniel stepped into the training circle. The Baraxian warrior followed, flexing his arms and smiling with confidence. "Begin," Jara said calmly. The warrior charged fast, swinging with full power. Daniel moved lightly, not fighting back, but avoiding each blow. He didn't land a punch. He didn't even raise a hand. He let the warrior fall into his own weight and stumble. Then Daniel stepped aside and tapped his shoulder gently. The warrior fell to one knee. The crowd went silent. Daniel offered his hand. The warrior took it, breathing hard. "You didn't defeat me," he said. "No," Daniel answered. "I just helped you fall." Jara stepped forward. "We don't teach to defeat, we teach to understand. Power without control is wild. Control without power is empty. We aim to find balance." The next day, more Baraxians came to train. They were strong. Yes, but their strength had always been taught through pain. Now they learned focus. Now they learned how to use an enemy's movement, not just block it. As they traveled from planet to planet, the group grew. More trainers joined the Malians who had learned the new ways and wanted to teach others. They became known as the Circle. Not an army, not a school, but something between. But not everyone supported them. In the far sector of the Myral system, a group of old warlords watched the spread of this teaching with anger. To them, war was power. Teaching others peace, balance, or restraint was seen as weakness. They feared losing their control if the younger generation followed the circle. They're making fighters soft. Out. Teach them not to strike. That will end the warrior bloodline. Another growled. Then we must show the galaxy what true strength still looks like. They planned a surprise challenge. They sent a message to Jara. "You teach across the stars. You claim to be a warrior still. We challenge you to a real fight. Come to Sector Myral. Bring your humans. Let's see how strong your way really is." Daniel read the message quietly. "It's a trap," he said. Maria nodded. "They don't want a fair match. They want to prove we're weak." Jara looked at them both. "Then we go. Not to win, but to show we are not afraid." Arrived in Sector Myral 3 days later. The planet was gray and dry. Old fighting pits covered the surface like scars. Warlords watched from high towers, wearing gold and black armor. In the center pit, 3 fighters waited. Each one was large, armored, and known for ruthless combat. They had trained in old war ways. They used blades, spikes, and strength. Jara. Daniel and Maria stepped into the pit, wearing simple robes and calm faces. "No weapons?" One of the warlords shouted from above, "How do you expect to survive?" Jara looked up. "We don't fight to survive. We fight to teach." Crowd laughed, but it didn't shake her. The signal rang. The match began. The enemy fighters rushed in fast. Daniel dropped low, dodging a blade swing. Maria spun away from a strike, using her attacker's motion to flip him sideways. Jara faced the strongest, a warlord's son, who swung with both hands. She didn't attack. She moved. She stepped. She turned his power into emptiness. Each time he swung, he hit nothing but air. The match lasted 15 minutes. No one was killed. No one was hurt badly. But the 3 enemy fighters stood exhausted, confused, and unable to land solid hits. Jara and her team stood calm, not even. Breathing hard, the crowd was silent. One of the warlords rose to speak, but before he could, Zone Fighter stepped forward and said, "They didn't defeat us with strength. They defeated us with something stronger, with patience." The warlord froze. Shawa turned to the crowd. "We are not your enemy. We do not come to replace your history. We come to offer another way." Some laughed, but some nodded. Later that night, Jara sat by the campfire with her team. She stared into the flames, quiet. "You okay?" Daniel asked. "Yes," she said. "I used to think victory was about standing tall over your enemy. Now I see. It's about standing beside them, even when they don't understand yet." "That's why you're the leader now," Maria said. CHARA looked up at the stars. "We still have far to go." 3 cycles had passed since Jara first stepped into the arena and challenged humanity. She had thought herself the best warrior on Threxos. She had believed strength meant heavy strikes and loud victories. Things were different. Just for her, but for the galaxy. The circle had grown. It wasn't just humans and Threxans anymore. Fighters from over a dozen planets had joined. They trained in silence and grace. They learned how to protect, not just fight. They learned how to stop a battle before it began. They called this way the flow of strength. Ara stood at the edge of a cliff on the world of Aloria, a peaceful planet full of green hills and silver. Lakes below, a great gathering was taking place. Hundreds of warriors from across the galaxy had come, not for a war but for a celebration. This was the day of unity. Daniel walked up beside her. His eyes were soft, his shoulders relaxed. "There. All waiting for you." "I'm not good at speeches," Jara said. "You don't need to be," he smiled. "You just need to speak from truth." Jara took a deep breath and walked down the stone path. The crowd made way for her. Every step felt heavy but proud. She remembered the old days, how her boots had once slammed the arena floors with power. Now her steps were quiet, but each one held more meaning. A wide platform stood at the center of the field. Above it, floating screens showed the faces of warriors from other planets who watched from afar. Even the Galactic Combat Council had sent a representative. ZHAARA stepped onto the platform. The crowd grew silent. She looked around and saw fighters of all shapes and sizes. Tall ones with claws, small ones with wings. Beings who once never spoke now stood shoulder to shoulder. "When I first met the humans," Jara began, "I believed. They were weak. I believed they didn't understand battle. I challenged them to prove their worth, but instead, they helped me see mine." The crowd listened closely. "They didn't fight me with force. They fought me with patience. They didn't strike. They redirected. They didn't win with pain. They won with peace." She paused, then continued. "Many called it weakness. Many still do. But I have seen more strength in stillness than in 1,000 battles. I have seen warriors hold back not because they couldn't strike but because they chose not to. That is strength." She raised her hand and pointed to the crowd. "This circle we've built, this unity, it isn't about replacing your ways. It's about adding to them. It's about giving every warrior a choice." There was a silence. Then one warrior clapped. Another joined, then more. Soon, the field echoed with cheers, not of war, but of respect. After the speech, many approached her young fighters. Old generals, even former enemies. One Threxan elder, once doubtful, now bowed before her. "Have brought us pride, not through power, but through wisdom." Daniel and Maria stood beside her, proud and quiet. The celebration continued. Groups gave demonstrations of their skills. Some used human flow styles. Others mixed them with old traditions. Young children sparred with laughter. Even those who once doubted the new path now watched with curiosity later. As the suns began to set, Yera walked to a quiet hill. Maria joined her, holding a small recording crystal. "This is for Earth's history records," Maria said.
Wait.
"Want to remember today?" Shara smiled. "Then let them remember not just my name, but the names of all who helped." "What will you do next?" Maria asked. Dacha Ara looked out over the valley where fires had been lit and songs were being sung. "I think I'll keep teaching, not just how to move, but how to lead, how to listen, how to respect." Daniel joined them. "Council is Thinking of creating a new rank, he said. Not warlord, not general. Something new. They want you to lead it. What would they call it? Yara asked. Guide Daniel said. The one who leads without shouting, who teaches without breaking. Jara looked up at the stars. Once, she had dreamed of being the greatest fighter on her planet. Now, she was part of something greater than any single world. I like that, she said. A guide. As the three stood together, a soft wind blew across the hill. They said nothing more. No loud victories, no sharp weapons. Just understanding unity in the beginning of a peaceful path, and somewhere across the galaxy. A young fighter on a distant planet watched a recording of Jara's speech and whispered to herself, maybe strength isn't what I thought. It was, and so the story continued. Not in war, but in learning. Not with fear, but with respect. And the galaxy, once full of division, began to understand something new. Humans hadn't come to win. They had come to wake the stars.